Hi, my name is Michelle Meyer. I'm a physical therapist with Riften Equipment. Today I'm going to talk about adaptive cycling. So first we'll start with the recently updated World Health Organization, or WHO, guidelines for physical activity and sedentary behavior. These guidelines were developed for children, adolescents, adults, and older adults, and they're based on the most recent advances in the research. So for the first time, these guidelines include specific recommendations on physical activity for people living with disabilities or chronic conditions. The guidelines now also address the negative health impacts of sedentary behavior. And the guidelines stress that there are no major risks to people with disability engaging in physical activity when it's appropriate to their health status and their physical functioning. So the health benefits generally outweigh the risks. Here's a direct quote. The WHO states, "Children and adolescents living with disability should do at least an average of 60 minutes per day of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity, which is mostly aerobic, across the week." And regarding sedentary behavior, they say, children and adolescents should limit the amount of time spent being sedentary, particularly the amount of recreational screen time. So some activity is better than none. And physical activity will look different from person to person. Exercise can be incorporated into recreation, activities of daily living and work, and really throughout all of daily life. By incorporating physical activity in the home, school, the workplace, and the community, we will find ways for adults, adolescents, and children living with disability to participate in physical activity that's enjoyable and appropriate to their age and their ability. A 2021 paper by Carty et al. Offers the first global physical activity and sedentary behavior guidelines for people living with disability. This paper specifically reflects on the strategic objectives of the Global Action Plan on Physical Activity for 2018 to 2030. Developed by the WHO, this action plan gives us a framework to increase physical activity globally. The first objective is active societies. This is a paradigm shift. We need to educate and enhance understanding around the multiple benefits of physical activity. The second is active environments. This means creating safe places and spaces for physical activity across cities and communities with equitable access for all people, regardless of their age and ability. This includes providing accessible equipment and other reasonable accommodations. Part 3 is active people. This addresses access issues by recommending programs and services in public locations so that people of all ages can participate. And lastly, Part 4 is active systems. Here, recommendations are given for governance and policy enablers to mobilize resources, with the goal being to increase physical activity and reduce sedentary behavior. Clearly, adaptive tricycles fit into this framework, because cycling can play a key part in promoting health and wellness across the lifespan. Next, let's look at how the International Classification of Functioning, Disability, and Health, also called the ICF model, supports the concept of adaptive cycling as an intervention. The ICF has 3 core domains. We see these as the first line of the diagram: body, structure, and function, activities, and participation. Body structure and function is at the anatomical and physiological level. Examples would be muscle strength and balance, or the impairment of spasticity or contractures. Activity looks at the level of tasks, such as sit-to-stand transitions, walking ability, or self-feeding. And participation is the involvement in life situation, such as gym class or going on a field trip. With these domains central to the ICF framework, there is less focus on the disability itself and more focus on fostering the abilities of the child to increase their participation in the home, the school, and the community. The contextual factors we see below this are environmental and personal factors. These factors provide the setting and will affect the child's function either positively by facilitating or negatively as a barrier. Environmental factors are the physical, social, and attitudinal environments surrounding a child, such as family, social support, and the attitudes of the school staff and the availability of assistive technology, or the building accessibility and policies, to name a few. Personal factors include the child's age and their personal interests or motivation. Here's an example. A child with cerebral palsy has difficulty with the activity of walking because of her disability, which affects her body structures and functions. She has extremity weakness and spasticity, which makes participation in events and activities with her peers very difficult. The child wishes to participate in the school holiday parade, so the clinician can provide an adaptive tricycle to intervene at the level of environmental factors. This will allow her to participate in this life situation, and at the same time it builds her lower extremity strength and mobility and gives her more independence. Here we see a version of the ICF model called the F-Words framework. It was first developed by Rosenbaum and Gorder in 2012. CanChild, which is a recognized research center of McMaster University in Canada, is doing a lot of advocacy and education to promote awareness of the F-words. This version of the ICF brings our focus to the pediatric population, and using this model helps us appreciate how adaptive cycling positively impacts the child on every one of these levels. At the level of the individual body structures and functions, the emphasis is the F-word fitness. Adaptive cycling improves endurance, strength, and balance. At the level of activity, or the child's capacity for a task or action, the emphasis is functioning. Cycling improves a child's mobility. It's a means of transportation and getting from place to place. Adaptive cycling with friends on the playground increases their participation along with being an excellent therapeutic intervention. And the contextual factor of the environment is strongly influenced by family. Their cultural background, the socioeconomic status, the setting of the home, and the availability of safe sidewalks or paths for cycling all play a role in a child's access to mobility. Adaptive tricycles, perhaps with the use of a stationary stand, can help address this barrier. For personal factors, the F word is fun. Here we're looking at what motivates the child. Tricycling is fun, and as such, we've increased the child's buy-in for physical activity to reduce sedentary behavior and screen time. Underlying the entire model is the arrow marked future. When we intervene at the fitness, functioning, and friends levels during childhood, we can positively impact the child's transition to adulthood. The improved overall health means more inclusion in the community right now and in the upcoming years of adolescence and adulthood. Many pediatric therapists across the nation recognize this connection. Bill Lynch, a longtime peds therapist in upstate New York, says, "For those who think biking is only recreational, I say come to my classroom and watch my students. The health and therapy